Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can get Google Trends data into Excel using Power Query. So if you go to Google Trends, you can see the current topics that are trending right now in different parts of the world. And if I go on and select the menu here and click on trending searches, and here you'll see the most popular items right now. And there's an RSS feed right here. And if I click on this, I can use this URL and load it into Power Query, which I'll do right now. So what I'm going to do is Control C to copy this and open up Excel. And now once in my spreadsheet, what I can go do is under the Data tab, select From Web, and then wait for the box to load where I can put in my URL. Control V to paste it in, and that is that RSS feed. Now it's important to get that exact link because you can there's all sorts of links that you could potentially use. Just using the web page itself won't be good enough. We need the RSS feed. So I'm going to hit OK. And now Power Query is going to look at that file and see what it can find. Now right now it looks like there's nothing here, but this is one of the things that can be a little bit misleading about Power Query. Because if I actually go to transform data, I can uncover more things in here. Now the one thing it tells me is this preview is a bit old, so I can go ahead and refresh it. For our purposes here, it really doesn't make a difference right now because we're just seeing the table and an attribute version of 2, so there's not much there. But the important thing to note in Power Query is if you see this little icon, that tells you that you can expand this field out. If I click on this, for example, you can see that I've got title, description, link, another table in here, another table in there. So I can click on this, and I'm just going to by default select everything, hit OK, and expand that out. And all of a sudden I have a bit more data in here, and I can repeat these steps over and over. Like for instance, here I've got another table. Again, it's a table embedded in there. So let's open that up. Right, I can open up all these tables to get all the possible data that I can get from here. So all of a sudden this has grown into a much bigger query than if you were to just look at it initially. So I'm just going to repeat these steps, and all of a sudden, you can start to see there's a whole lot of information in here that's hidden within this just by opening up these tables. Right, so no columns in this case. I can't open anything up, and so I think that's about it for the tables. But as you can see, there's a ton more information in here than you could have initially seen just by pulling the query and saying, okay, there's only 2 fields in here, there's nothing in there. And now that I've opened up all these tables, I've got a lot of columns here that really aren't necessary. Like I don't need these repeating values, so I can right click, remove anything that's repeating. I don't need. I can hit shift and select multiple columns, remove. If you decide which columns you want to keep, you can select those and then hit remove other columns. I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to do one by one. So I'm going to include the title, the number of searches. Seems like that could be useful. Again, here's another link to the image. Not terribly useful. The source, I'm going to remove it. Here we've got some descriptions that could be useful. A link to the actual story. Again, here we've got another source. That table didn't have anything. Again, repeating items. We've got a publication date, which I'm going to keep just because it might be useful for the sake of knowing when you pull the query to make sure that it's actually current data. If I'm on May 20th and I'm getting May 18th data, then that may tell me there's something wrong with the query. So right now I've stripped out a lot of those unnecessary columns, and now I've got something a bit more workable. And the one thing I'm going to do now is clean up this table a little bit, because right now I've got these searches, but they have these plus values behind them. And so the problem is I can't convert this into a number without it erroring out. So what I'm going to want to do is select this column and hit replace values. And this is basically a find and replace as if you would in a normal spreadsheet. So I'm going to select the value defined as a plus sign, replace it with nothing. And now I've got rid of that, and now I can click on this ABC icon here and change it to a whole number. And so now it's recognizing it as a number, and you'll notice that it aligns to the right. So before it was aligning to the left, indicating that it was reading as text. So now I've got whole numbers here. Another thing that you may want to do is do the same thing for these values that have text in them, because you'll see that there's ampersand, number signs. So these are symbols that obviously didn't translate properly. So I'm going to select these items and again go to replace values, and I'm going to do a couple replacements. First, it's going to be ampersand pound 39, which is equivalent to an apostrophe. I'm going to do that. And see, now we're seeing a bit, actually, did I do that one properly? So I think that in that case, I missed a semicolon at the end. So it's important to pay attention. There we go. So now the apostrophe looks correct. Another one that I'm going to replace is any sort of spaces and non-breaking space. Again, got the colon, and just replace it with a space. And any sort of things like this that you can find in your text to make it more readable can be useful. There's one for quotes and quote, and then replace this with quotation marks. Hit OK, and now you can see I don't see any odd characters in here. Everything looks like readable text. So it makes it a bit easier to make those changes. Not necessary, obviously, but just something that can make it a bit more usable. Another thing that I've noticed in this query is that there's duplicating values in these titles. And so what I'm going to do is select this column here and remove duplicates. And now I've got just single items. So I've got the top 20 items. And now that I've got the values in here, what I may want to do is also sort this in descending order. So I got the most popular items at the top going in descending order. The last thing I may want to do is just change the title of these headers, called, let's say, trending. Let's say traffic title. Link, and then let's say date. I'm not going to worry about converting this into date format, but you could also do that as well if you wanted to. So now that that's done, I can go in here and select close and load. Now it's going to pull all this data into a new tab for me. So now if I ever wanted to refresh this or get the latest trending data from Google, it's as simple as going into data, refresh all, and it'll rerun the query and these steps. So that's an easy way to pull in Google Trends data into your Excel workbook.